G'day and welcome to the Early Crow, episode 69.
Down, boy, down.
This episode is brought to you by Makita. Right now, get amazing bonuses with selected Makita XGT 40 volt and 80 volt max kits and combos. Limited time only. Visit makita.com.au for details. Makita XGT. More intelligent, more efficient, more power, more Makita. Perhaps away early, might have him at the back half of the show to cover off footy and sport, but Pratty and I are going to rip through the weekend's racing. We saw Derby Day, Doncaster Day up there at Randwick. We saw a run-of-the-mill meeting at Caulfield, but there was 10 winners at both, and where should we kick it off, Michael?
Shall we have a look into Randwick, mate? Shall we start with Vinrock, the Victorian, just going a little north of the border and knocking off all the 2-year-olds that have been run around in Sydney?
They won't like it up there, I tell you. This horse kicked off its life as a racehorse at Pakenham, the Bermuda Triangle of Form, Michael. When it went to Pakenham, it didn't do a hell of a lot over 1,200 metres. It kicked their heads in, but to the clock, it was only it was ho-hum, it was plain. It then went to Flemington and got the job done, increased significantly its rating, and then backed it up with an almost identical number there at Randwick on Saturday, sneaking up the inside, which was probably inferior ground there at Randwick on Saturday. We know we're going to get lanes. I don't think it was as laney as Randwick can get and Sydney can be, but it was a really nice performance. Rivanello was sort of in the perfect spot mid-race with a little bit of intent from Hugh.
Yeah.
While Ryan Moore, the import, decided to just whack Waterton 3 wide and cover the trip. And then he thought, well, if I can't win, I'm going to make sure you can't either, mate. And they played jockeys a little bit. The Hong Kong jockey, ex-Australian, Hugh Bowman versus Ryan Moore.
Yeah.
All the while, Victoria's King Kong, Mark Zara, just snuck up the inside and got it done.
How laughing would have he been at the 200 going, how much cheaper is Mimi's going to be this afternoon once I lob there, after we just get this done? Oh, yeah, up the inside we go, that'll do.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you, mother, for the rabbits. But yeah, that was a bit of there was a bit going on at the 300 when Rivellino was trying to get out, and I think it was it also State Visit? Was it Collett that kept it in as well?
A little bit, yeah. There was a
was a
fair
good
bit going
race.
on. They were playing jockeys. They played jockeys all day up there in Sydney.
What do you make
Tight
of
racing?
What do you make of Ryan Moore flying in, flying out? I think he's numbered from 9 at Randwick now.
I wouldn't put him on.
Yeah.
You'd be paying a fee for it too. Wouldn't be like the same as a normal jockey.
Yep. I wonder if he gives the owners as much as he does in the after race press conference, because he gives absolutely nothing there. So I hope he's at least giving the owners a bit more of an explanation.
I think he would. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting him on.
Yeah, fair enough. Are you taking anything out of the English sides? Are you following anything, or are you just a few of them a bit deeper into a first prep and just letting them go?
I think Waterton and Rivellino, you can forgive both for different reasons. And you could consider another wager on them if they push on to the 1600 metre Group 1. But you'd want a price. The horse that won race 1 in Victoria was, like, I think it's a better 2-year-old. That's Scenic Point for Lindsay Park.
Yep.
But that was an 1100 metre race, so it's not going to be racing against these horses this prep. But if I could take any of them home for the spring as 3-year-olds, I'm taking Scenic Point.
Interesting, very interesting. Shall we go over to race 7 then, mate, which was the TJ Smith Stakes? Briasa settled in a forward position and just got over the top of Overpass, which surely just has the quokka or whatever it is in the bag.
Yeah, really nice ride. Tyler Schiller made the difference, I reckon. I think Briasa's elite. I think it's a proper horse. I think it's still got scope to improve. I think it's got to be the hardest, the most likely winner of the Everest of the Australians at this stage. I thought Headwall was enormous, which grazed me right up. Started $31, and Savage Align with a bit more luck goes even closer. Jimmy Star was very good.
Can Headwall keep growing you up, though, considering it's now run well in an Oakley Plate, in a Newmarket, and now in the TJ Smith Stakes? Like, I understand the SPs are or $15 plus. But that's put 3 good runs together in a row now.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think the other thing that grows you up about this race is like the 10th horse was 2.2 lengths off the winner.
Yeah.
So, bunch finish, not a lot between them. Jolie Star's been beaten 2 lengths and run 9th.
Yeah.
Started 3:30 favourite, so it's going to have a really nice SP with a small margin, but in a bunch field, you could do with that what you wanted moving
that
forward.
That was fenced the entire, though, so there's maybe an excuse there.
Switzerland, again, Ryan Moore from Barrier 5, beaten 1.8. I expected more from it just because of the respect you have for the Silks and for Chris Waller to push on with that horse. Like, he's already a stallion, so anything they do now sort of adds to it or detracts. I thought Jimmy Star was a nice run again, and I agree with you that Overpass looks extremely hard to beat in the Quokka.
All right, that is race 7, the TJ Smith. Then we go over to the Doncaster Mile. Steffi Magnetica, I know Skulls, your man in New South Wales, was a little bit bullish on Steffi's chances. Beat Royal Patronage by 0.1 of a length.
Yeah, a really odd edition of a great race.
Yeah,
we had a runner in it. He was disappointing, but he needs given the ground, and it was just a privilege to have a horse race in such a massive, historically significant race. Yep. That was our horse, Just Folk. He's pulled up sweet and onwards and upwards with him, chasing wet ground. But the sort of starting point for me when I look at this race is that the tempo was just so slow for a big field in a handicap. Sometimes big field, wait for age, I expect maybe there's not going to be a heap of tempo. But there's horses here with no weight. Like, I think Rise at Dawn really missed an opportunity to win a Doncaster.
Yeah.
Led the race, went way too slow, gave a great kick, but he's gone significantly better than this before.
Yeah. Why'd you have to bring that up? We took 51s and 26th the place, and it's missed out by 0.05.
Yeah, I've moved on from that. We had a great Saturday in Melbourne, so I've moved on from that. Like the betting, my betting take on the race is sort of come and gone. Now I'm looking at the data and the sectionals, and I just think if they were positive on it or more aggressive on it, it probably wins. If I'm sure if some of these horses, I don't know, another Will, the second horse, Royal Patronage, these are horses that they would have contemplated being really aggressive on tactically.
Yeah.
But I think they didn't end up doing that because on paper it did look like there was going to be a good amount of speed and a good amount of tempo. And in hindsight, there wasn't. NCAP's gone enormous, graze you up. Linebacker, in hindsight, like horrific tactics, given none.
That one doesn't make any sense to me.
Just some odd decisions tactically. And therefore a really tricky race to sort of assess moving forward. I think that the form out of this race often is pretty good, but this year's edition might be a little bit different because there was a lack of tempo. Full credit to Bjorn and Steffi Magnetica. It just makes you keener on Overpass because he's not had a huge little patch there through our summer and coming off it,
Yeah.
He's run second in a TJ, just beaten. He's won a Doncaster. He's absolutely airborne, Bjorn Baker, and onwards and upwards. I'd really like, though, the two horses out of this race that I think are going to be really relevant to everyone watching and listening moving forward for 2 or 3 years is Rise at Dawn for Lindsay Park and Linebacker for John O'Shea. Those two horses have bright careers ahead of them as wait for age horses. As to what level they get to, time will tell. But I really think Rise at Dawn, Linebacker, and another horse that we haven't spoken about in Evaporate earlier in the day, they're our sort of next generation of wait for age mile plus horses.
Yep. Fair enough. Then we go over to the last Group 1 in Sydney, mate, which was the ATC Australian Derby. Fuck me dead. Aliana, wasn't that a CJ Waller performance on a grand final day? Just a lazy 5.2 lengths on the line.
Amazing stuff, to be honest. Full credit to Paps, he found her.
Yeah.
He bet accordingly. And boy, oh boy, it won well. This horse started 320 in 1,000 guineas. End of last prep.
Yeah.
It hadn't won a race this preparation. It had run into broadsiding twice. Got beaten by it. Got beaten by a linebacker. Ran into broadsiding every time. And it just went away from those top line 3-year-olds, 1,400 metre to a mile to 2,000, and just went a little bit further in trip and against these sort of, future hurdlers and kicked their heads in.
Future hurdlers in a Group 1, he's just gone whoosher.
Well, there's not a lot of depth to our staying ranks as like in our derbies, and if you're brilliant, you stand out like significantly. And she started 550. She was 750 into 550 in the Rosehill Guineas, a 2,000 metre race versus the 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then she was 240, 250 into 225 here and kicked their absolute heads in.
Yeah. Very, very, very good performance. And Wallace said unlikely to back up, so I wonder if he puts her away and brings her back in the spring.
They can find one, and Castelvecchio's starting to get a bit of momentum.
Yeah, fair enough. And then should we have a quick look at Caulfield, mate? Any hot takeaways from Caulfield? Anything out of the Easter Cup? Anything you want to take from Caulfield?
I think Q Tempesta's flying. We can follow it wherever they take it. That's now 2 really nice performances in a row from Q Tempesta.
Yep.
The market in Melbourne just seems to have no idea. It's my main sort of takeaway. Like they backed Scenic Point, but not significantly late. And it won. Everything else they back lost. I think they had a really big go at Poison Chalice, and so did we. I think in hindsight, that horse started 270. I think in hindsight, it probably should have started like 210.
Yeah.
They went a brutal tempo in that race, and it just brought that horse undone the last little bit. I think it deserved, and it would have won that race, almost half the time in a normal race shape. What else have I got for you? Prancing Spirit probably should have won. Might have been race 2, Pratty. He went back inside, got held up deluxe after pinging and being snicked at the start. Wasn't the best ride tactically. Horse went enormous. It's ready to win. Regal Asmon in the last race. God bless Rhinoceros. We backed it at 50s. But Regal Asmon in the last was the only horse to really make ground, and the way it did it and the sectionals it ran were enormous. I thought that England's ride tactically was incredibly unintelligent. Only bested by Dennis Pagan's effort on
Georgie Get Mad.
Georgie Get Mad, who's a good, tough on-pace horse, and they rode it cold from the back. Surprisingly, that didn't work. But England went back from a wide draw. I think if it gets an inside draw next start, it's going to be very, very hard to beat wherever they go with it. And that's probably all I've got while I keep on rolling. I think that Caulfield's a track where we've got to be really, really careful betting too much before the day starts.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it just can't handle it at the moment, and it hasn't been able to handle it for almost, top of my head, I'll say 2 years. My theory is, I think Dan Bowman might have sort of cemented this idea in my head that it wasn't another dumb one I had, it was actually a good one, that the overwatering to get the track rating from an historic, traditional good 3 to now a good 4 with a bit of give in it.
Yeah.
Some of these tracks just can't handle it.
Yeah.
And Caulfield now presents with rain, without rain, with wind, without wind, as a laney, biased, tricky track to play on and bet into.
Yeah.
If you are in the inside lanes and a 9 metre rail there on Saturday, it's very, very hard, almost impossible to win.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, and I don't know why, but I'm just going to assume full credit Kanga. It's not really talked about, is it? Moonee Valley was a disgrace the other day. People want to tear it down.
Yep.
Newsflash, they already are. They're going to tear it down anyway. Caulfield, they're building grandstands. They're not building grandstands. They're building mounting yards. They're not using the mounting yard. They're using the old one. The track races like the mounting yard surface parades. Poorly. And abused. And it's very, very tricky for punters. It'll be worse for owners and for trainers.
Not good. Not good at all. But I think that's about racing for the weekend, mate. Just in case we don't get perhaps this week, at least you don't have to throw your Luke Parker number 26 jersey out anytime soon, because the man who has taken his number, oh boy, wowee, what a fucking game from Riley Bice.
Oh, the Bismarty. What a glorious way to finish a great day. It was a great week. Flew up to Sydney on Tuesday. I don't know if we did a show after that, but just to be up there where I grew up with my dad.
We did. We did it on Thursday.
With Scurry. I'm going to do it again. With Scurry, who was the first person I got involved in the mailbag in racing, to have one of our horses win a Group 3. It was just glorious. I got to spend Friday night with Lauren Swan, an OG of the mailbag and of the mailbag community. It was just Swanee night, Cranbourne, as Grouse Mountain. Finally, she would have had the greatest, strongest SP profile of any horse in Victoria at the maiden level in history.
It's bloody Winks odds going around every week.
But not winning.
That was a good effort. Blinkers off, up to 1,300, and just got there in the end.
Shout out to J Mott. As I said, shout out to Jamie Mott for telling us to do it. But most importantly to Terence Bailey, TB, for putting the pen right through our horse after she failed as a $1.55 chance the start prior.
Yep.
You knew she was always going to improve off the back of that, I thought, and she did. And she won.
Good to see you give Terence a little bit of a clip on .com as well, which was good.
Well, it's good that something positive happened on Friday night, because for whatever reason the AFL thought it'd be a good idea to put Geelong-Melbourne on, which was one of the great dot balls. Only slightly better, I thought, than the Collingwood game, which was...
The turnover city.
It was bad. Big test for the Pies this Friday night.
It is.
What did you think of the Suns-Crows game?
I didn't catch any of it, but
you couldn't have missed the late free kick.
I genuinely haven't seen it. You want to set the scene?
I just love in the AFL, so they pumped it not long to go, maybe a minute, maybe like a minute and a half. And Rankin has been like manhandled, which is forcing him to drop a chest mark. I don't think it was a mark. Probably was a free kick. Nothing's paid. Toys out of the cot from the Crows fan. There was other decisions all day, like throws and stuff that they were okay. Don't worry about those ones.
Yeah.
Just that last one. And then we finished off Saturday, Pratty, with just a barrier trial. Would you call it? It
seemed like it. I mean, the first quarter was reasonably tight, but then the Swans just turned one on, and
there's a little bit of like Auskicky parents versus kids about it. Like the little kids can fling it around the halfback flank all you want. Rack them up, boys.
Yeah.
But when you try and come near us, we'll get it and we'll slingshot it back.
Yeah.
Bismarty, as we said, outstanding. The usage from that man, like he's a
26
surgeon.
Touches, 20 kicks at 85% disposal efficiency.
Surgical.
He can kick a
Hayward,
I think there's something.
What about Will Hayward? What about him?
Yeah.
What we need, guys, is just like, hey, Will, you're starting to become a bit of a senior. Like you're an old head here, particularly tonight. Can you just sort of settle us in? Can you just say everything's going to be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, boys. Watch this. I'll just slot him.
It's pretty good. There's something to be said about mature age recruits, isn't there, with that Riley Bice? His body's just that little bit bigger, and he's played at a lot of footy to have some of those footy smarts, and he's just showing it big time.
I would hate to see how I can. If his body's bigger now, I can figure out why he wasn't drafted, though. Jesus Christ.
Might have been a real small unit. But the best part about Saturday night was the brain trust in the box, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, let's not forget the Chad just sort of put the knife in and then just sitting himself. But just when you thought it couldn't get better and the camera panned up to the brains trust, the absolute brains trust, Justin McInerney and T. Papley.
Side by
the
side.
mind boggles at what would have been discussed in that box. Does it not?
I can imagine some of the thoughts as I think, what was it? It was about almost a 10-goal lead at 3/4 time going into the last quarter, and there wasn't too many scores kicked after that. I can't imagine some of the dribble that must have been spoken. I wonder if they were asked to leave or if they were able to hang the full match in the box.
Or stay awake.
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. But no, it's a good win for the Swans, Dicko, just outside the 8 now, and a bit of momentum. Hopefully that continues on.
Bloody big test for them. Big test for them this weekend. Some big games this weekend, Pratty.
There's massive games this weekend.
Porter in a hell of a lot of trouble.
Oh.
Like an absolute cracker Thursday night. Crows take on the Cats.
Yep.
Pies, Swans. And I don't know, maybe it's because Eddie's not in charge anymore. That looks like a Pies home game to me. So, stiff. Like they haven't travelled for a away game most of the time, so they've had to do one for a home game, so they will be a bit wobbly.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to our Marvel home game coming up, which always throws a spanner in the works, doesn't it?
Yeah, tough life. North against the Suns, please be a contest. Everyone's going to be watching at 120 from 1 foot to about 145, just hoping that West Coast turn up and scare Carlton. They gave the Swans a big scare out in the sticks.
That's right.
Last gather round.
Was that at Mount Barker or something like that?
What it took was Paps I think Paps captained that day, and if my memory serves me correctly, he might have just laid one of the great sort of pressure tackles late, just to settle everyone down. Yep. I think it was big boy shit from Tom.
It was out at Mount Barker. It was.
Dogs, Lions. Dogs off a road trip to Perth.
They
were a bit plain late against Freo. Freo were like 2 men down.
I reckon I watched a lot of that game. If the Dogs had converted early with a few of those inside 50s they kept getting, might have been a bit of a different storyline at the end, but they just gave Freo too big a start. And did you watch any of that game? Didn't Freo shit
I watched the last quarter.
Didn't they shit the bed in the last quarter, Freo, and to just hang on? Like that,
what about,
the first 15 minutes.
Shea Bolton just running inside. You're the fastest man in Australia. Just keep running.
Yeah, that was a bit bizarre. It was the same as Frederick did the same thing in the third quarter when he ran into... he was by himself running in and he just tried this check side dribbler and it missed. If he had just kept running straight and if he had drawn the player in, he would have got the handball over the top or he would have just been able to kick a simple goal from 30 out. But anyway.
Melbourne, Essendon, cracker. Tigers, yeah, cracker because they both need to win.
Oh, fuck, that could be a hard watch.
Saints, Giants, and we finish with Port at home to close out gather round, not magic round, that's who they copied it off, against Hawthorn, the family club, who I don't think have heaps of poker machines anymore, but they used to allegedly. An outstanding week ahead for the AFL, and shout out to Dan Houston. No comment, but I just don't understand how Juz gets 3 and he gets 2, but that's the AFL, and it's about the... What do they say, Pratty?
The outcome.
Outcome-based system. Quickly, while
that one makes no sense to me.
Quickly, while we're doing everything, one of the most boring, but you'll be pleased to know, 3 from 3, but one of the most boring Grand Prix I've ever seen yesterday in Japan. Max somehow gets that car onto pole, and they just can't get past him. And I don't know if McLaren are just playing the long game with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, but like they were second and third comfortably, and are they just trying to win the constructors or something? Because like Oscar pits from third, and the next lap Max pits, and Lando follows him in. Yeah, like wouldn't you split them up?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not a big tactics F1 guy, but
anyway, I thought Oscar drove well. He just needed to secure a better spot on qualifying.
You're Japanese all in. Guy you are genuinely all in.
Yeah, the Japanese guy,
Yuki Tsunoda.
Who got the Red Bull seat, didn't really go that good in his home Grand Prix. So a lot of pressure on. I can imagine the pressure on a Japanese superstar in Japan, and he didn't go that good. The young bloke for Mercedes looks like he's above average, aggressive.
Yeah. George Russell.
Nah, George Russell's like second driver.
The older guy, yeah.
Antonio something.
Yeah, yep.
Antonelli or something. Anyway, 3 from 3 so far in the F1. If I can get through to next week, I think we're a chance because the Japan Grand Prix was really fucking boring.
Yeah, you might be fucking locked in here. This might be turning the chapter for you. When are you going to become an F1 expert and start betting on it?
Well, I'm not going to bet on it. I just enjoy it. Put on one of the 4 screens. And just to quickly wrap up rugby league, Sharks, impotent, disappointing, as a shy boy.
I think we spoke about it on Friday morning when you and I did the captain's run, but Sticky Ricky was up and about after that last play.
Oh, one of the great tries of all time.
Panthers?
They're in trouble, but they'll come good. They're too good to not. Bulldogs are ticking over beautifully.
Yep.
South, famous win against the Roosters. Latrell's cutout ball. He is just so
He's
easy
an
to
Adonis.
watch. Like a true gift to the game. Latrell Mitchell. Great to have him back. That's all I can think of as
and hang on, what about the Storm sending a massive fuck you to Manly at Brookvale? Jesus
and also
Christ.
to me, though, I've got a draft league in Supercoach, and one of my early picks, Jerome Hughes, I had him on the bench. He scored 94. Didn't count. He wore 22. Look after the Supercoaches out there, Storm. We love you, but, let us know if you're playing, for God's sakes.
Craig, what a guru.
All right, that's been the Early Crow episode 69. The most important thing is that you have a great week. Gamble responsibly. We'll be back on Thursday for the captain's run, looking at day 2 of the championships and whatever else is out there. And if you want to race a horse with me, Jono, Jono at themailbag.com.au, White Bear, tried horse, ready to go. Might potentially is going to have someone you guys know in that horse shortly. Stand by.
Ooh.
Have a great week. And bye for now.